Peace, and welcome to another episode of the Quranic Remedies, where we spend about 15 minutes exploring a page from the Quran together and seeing how we can apply the verses to our lives. And hopefully, with God's permission, it helps us heal our brain, body, mind, and soul. So today, we'll be reading from chapter 2, the cow, from verses 84 all the way to 88. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge to God from the accursed devil. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the merciful, the gracious. وَإِذَا أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ لَا تَسْفِكُونَ دِمَاءَكُمْ وَلَا تُخْرِجُونَ أَنفُسَكُمْ مِنْ دِيَارِكُمْ ثُمَّ أَقْرَرْتُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَشْهَدُونَ. And when we took a covenant, do not shed your blood, nor shall you expel yourselves from your homes. Then you accepted while you were witnessing. ثم أنتم هؤلاء تقتلون أنفسكم وتخرجون فريقا منكم من ديارهم تظاهرون عليهم بالإثم والعدوان وإن يأتوكم أسرى تفادوهم وهو محرم عليكم إخراجهم أفتؤمنون ببعض الكتاب وتكفرون ببعض فما جزاء من يفعل ذلك منكم إلا خزي في الحياة الدنيا ويوم القيامة يردون إلى أشد العذاب وما الله بغافل عما تعملون. Yet you are those killing yourselves and expelling a group of you from their homes, assisting against them in sin and aggression. And whenever they come to you as captives, you ransom them, while their expulsion was forbidden to you. Do you then believe in part of the book and disbelieve in part? Then what is the requital of those who do that among you, if not disgrace in the worldly life? And on the day of resurrection, they will be returned to the severest of punishments, for God is not heedless of what you do. أولئك الذين اشتروا الحياة الدنيا بالآخرة فلا يخفف عنهم العذاب ولا هم ينصرون. Those are the ones who have traded the hereafter for the worldly life, so the punishment will not be lightened for them, nor will they be helped. ولقد آتينا موسى الكتاب وقفينا من بعده بالرسل وآتينا عيسى ابن مريم البينات وأيدناه بروح القدس أفكلما جاءكم رسول بما لا تهوى أنفسكم استكبرتم ففريقا كذبتم وفريقا تقتلون. And we certainly gave Moses the book and sent messengers after him. And we gave Jesus, the son of Mary, proofs and supported him with the Holy Spirit. So is it whenever a messenger comes to you with what your souls did not desire, you became arrogant, and a group you denied, and another group you killed. وقالوا قلوبنا غلف بل لعنهم الله بكفرهم فقليلا ما يؤمنون. And they said, our hearts are covered. In fact, God has cursed them for their disbelief, so rarely do they believe. صدق الله العظيم. The God, the Great, said the truth. So this is a continuation of the covenant with the children of Israel, which this covenant is applying to everyone else in the world. So the children of Israel was an example, or they were supposed to show the truth for the rest of the world, or the Gentiles, as people say. And you could see that yesterday, the covenant started with what they need to do as a positive. So you should worship God alone. You serve God as a single entity. You don't serve anyone else. Then you have to be good to your parents, to your relatives, with the poor people, with the orphans as well, not in that order. Because the orphans came before the poor people, I believe. And then you have to say good to the people. You have to talk nicely to people. And then you have to establish the litany or the prayer, and you have to give from charity. And now the second part of the covenant that was taken by children of Israel is to do not kill each other. It's very simple. Just do not kill each other, and do not kick each other out of your homes. And they accepted that covenant. Now, as what is happening in the world today with the war in the Middle East in regards to the Zionist state in Gaza, or the Palestine, you have to understand that's the exact same gene pool. They came from the exact same sources. The children of the Palestinians in this day and age, and the Palestinians themselves, they are the people who walked with Moses when this was occurring. Just like as those other their counterpart, I don't like to really call them Jews, but let's say the Zionists, they went to Europe and then they added to the gene pool and then they came back. They're still brothers. They're still the same seed. They're still from the same location. So here it's very clear. It's do not kill each other and do not kick yourselves from, like, do not kick each other from their homes. And then as God carries on, he's saying that you're killing each other and you're expelling a group of you from their homes. Yes, the Zionists are expelling a group of themselves from their homes. Just because the language is different, just because they migrated to Europe and came back, it doesn't mean that they're not coming from the same seed, which is Israel. I had a few conversations. Well, there is one that's recorded, a conversation with a Zionist in Britain. And this is how you defeat that regime, that mentality, is you don't sit there and deny the fact that you're also a child of Israel. You are also an Israeli. As a Palestinian, you came from Israel. And they say, well, the Torah promises the land for the children of Israel. Okay, so God promised it to you too, within their own books. But if you're going to deny that, oh no, the children of Israel are all bad because the Quran paints them in a certain image, well, it's you. You're the one who's being painted in that image. And aside from Palestine, you could go look at the other countries surrounding it. How many times have you guys killed each other? How many times have you guys kicked each other from your own homes? But you could see, as for humanity, it's such a disgrace for those that are kicking believers and people who believe in God out of their homes. And the banks are notorious for that. That's something that's happening probably close to where you're from if you're living in the States or Canada or the West. Yeah, they give you a loan, which is a loan based upon out of oppression. And then when things are getting rough, all the money that you paid, it doesn't matter because you've missed a few payments. You can no longer afford to pay that loan. Therefore, I'm going to take that house and all the money that you gave me is mine. And I'm going to repeat the process with somebody else. So maybe every 5 or 10 years, it's beneficial for me as a bank to make the economy a little rough, to purposely cause heavy waters so that smooth sailing is not possible. And a lot of people just end up giving me back the home that they're paying for the last 5 or 6 years. And again, I go repeat the process. So this is why it's oppressive. And you could see what God said about the people who are kicking other individuals out of their homes without the right. God says, while their expulsion was forbidden to you, do you believe in part of the book and disbelieve in part? So it's just disgrace in the worldly life. You could see right now the genocide that's going on all over the world from all different parts of the places. But the genocide that's happening right in front of us in our eyes, it's disgraceful on the other side on what they do. Yet if you go back a few centuries, they lived side by side. Like even a century ago, it's not about the Jews. The Jews and the Muslims and the Christians, they were all in the Levant area. Nobody killed each other and kicked each other out of their homes. So this is something that's very important. The children of Israel are not the Jews. And if you want to beat that system and if you want to beat that, you have to start to show and prove, okay? Because if it is a theology and a logical thing, that the Palestinians are the children of Israel. Like there is, just because they speak Arabic and they have a different understanding of their religion and they follow a different prophet, does not change their seed. And anytime, as I said, I approach Zionists with this understanding, they have no rebuttal. Because to them, it's literally in Hebrew, it's Bani Israel, to children of Israel. And I say, does a child have to, what if one of you stops practicing Judaism? Is he still a child of Israel? And he was like, well, yeah, by blood, but he's not, like, we wouldn't call him child of Israel because he's not Judaism, because they want to monopolize the title. But a child is free of a religion, or sorry, not a religion, free of a creed. Nobody's born Jewish. You were born an Israeli because you came from the child of from Israel, but then people put their religion on you or their creed on you, and then you become Jewish. Judaism is not a race. Israeli is the race. And a lot of Arabs are Israeli, but they have different religions. So this is why you're kicking yourselves from your homes. You know, this is why God said you're kicking a group of you from their homes. So when you're seeing these events that are unfurling, it's cousins killing each other. It's distant cousins that are killing each other. But if you go back in history, they're very close. It's unfortunate, but this is how you can look at it objectively. And this is how you solve the problem. It's not about kicking all the Jews out of Palestine. It's not about killing all the Arabs out of Israel. It's the fact that you have to understand that it's the same gene pool. and it's the same people, and God has been addressing you. So one interesting part here is like from a different point is, do you believe in part of the book and disbelieve in part? Now, this verse gets applied in a way that you could see it how when people are being reminded with the book. In any case, scenario, when you say to a verse, a lot of people go heedless on it. So it's like, hey, you should forgive. Like, yes, that person said something bad to you and you should forgive and let God take care of it. Well, he can't treat me that way and he can't talk to me. Okay, forgive. No, I won't forgive because it's okay, forgive. Because if you forgive, it just solves the problem now and then you will get your retribution back. But they are so hell-bent on getting their retribution now because to them, they just believe part of the book. That God will not help them later on. Or God will not give them back their just, or like whatever's fair to them. So this is very important. That is when you are reminded by a verse of God in a situation that you're in, for you not to go heedless and deaf and dumb on the verse that is being recited to you and pretend like you didn't hear it or you didn't understand it. This is a very severe situation when God said, do not kick each other out of your homes. And you doing that, that's you going against what God has ordered upon you. And it's the same things in many different scenarios. Because when you are reminded like, hey, you know what? Interest is not something that you should be forcing upon people. Yeah, well, it's just part of my job. So I guess you're disbelieving in God's book, that it's not good for humanity. It's not good for us as a civilization. It's not good for you as an individual. Drinking is bad. You shouldn't do that. Eating pig or pork is not good. So avoid bacon. Well, I like bacon. Okay, I guess. Are you still praying? Yeah, I kind of pray. Doesn't make sense because you can't pick and choose what you like out of the book. And this is what people do in other creeds, right? So I'm not going to point out to people, but people have other books that they say that it's from God, but they get to pick and choose what they like. Oh, this is optional. This is not optional. This I like, or this doesn't make sense to me. But when it comes down to the book of God, I can't say, oh, I don't like that, so I can't follow that, or I won't follow that. It is all prescribed upon you. You have to hold on to it. And if you're picking and choosing, then at this point, you're not showing loyalty to God. You're showing loyalty to whatever you like, you desire, right? Because sometimes as a human being, you have to do things that you don't like because it's what's good for you. A lot of people, they go to the gym. They don't like the process of going through the gym until they start to like it over time because they see the benefit. But at the beginning, it's something that's hard. I have a good friend. My brother, he didn't like running. He said when he first started to run, he didn't like the process because of the breathing but after time he started to appreciate it because he made it into a habit in a process to serving God, to making his body better, so that if anything ever occurs, his body's ready, right? So this is stuff that you have to understand, is that some stuff that are prescribed in the Quran is not stuff that you might like, but you have to do it. And when the time is right, you have to do it because that is part of the book. And for those that, you know what, I'll just take a little part here, but I don't like this part because this part, like, it stops me from making money, or this part stops me from having fun, like, oh, I like chasing women. It's okay. God will forgive me, right? But the problem is at this point, you're just buying into the worldly life. It's very clear. And because you are clearly buying into the worldly life, like you are, you know what, I'd rather have like a bunch of girlfriends here. You know why? Because I get to enjoy my good life here. God, what's wrong with enjoying a good life? Well, you get to have that in heaven in a proper method where you're not a pig, okay? Where you're not someone who would be labeled as a pig or a womanizer. You can get to have a similar process where you have many girls because it's for infinity. You understand? But if you want to have that here, then you're buying the worldly life. And it's not something that's acceptable here. And even in that style, it's not acceptable in heaven, just so that we know. And those are things that we can cover a little later. Now, for many, many communities, after they get a huge messenger or a prophet that comes to them and, he lays down everything for them. A lot of communities, they make it impossible for God to send someone else as a reminder in the future. You could see that later in the Quran. The pharaohs used to say, well, Joseph came to us. He came to us in the proofs. And then you thought that God will not send someone after him. That's it. And then the Christians, well, there's no reason for anyone to be coming after Jesus because that's it. Jesus is it. 2,000 years, nobody's coming. And if someone comes, it's going to be Jesus in a different form. And then the same things with the people who follow Prophet Muhammad. Oh, God sent Prophet Muhammad with a book. That's it. There's no need for anyone else to come. There's no more people coming with a message from God. Yes, God said there are no more prophets in the Quran, but God never said anything about messengership, because God calls angels messengers. God calls angels messengers. God says that he takes from human messengers, he takes from the angels messengers, so God can remind you with a message. It doesn't necessitate for it to be a curriculum and a book, because that comes down to the Prophet, and those are things that we're going to talk about. But the reason why I'm bringing this topic up is just because if someone comes to you in the truth, right? And you could see this often when people are expressing the truth on the television, in the media, or in courts to the rulers or to a large group of people. People want them gone because it's not stuff that they have been conditioned to hear as growing up. And to them, it's wild. Hey, guys, can be careful, because you know what? Making Mecca into a resort, that might lead for you to get destroyed. How do you know that? Well, because I am inspired to tell you that what you're doing is wrong based upon the verses that I'm reading in the Quran. Well, how dare you say that? How can you speak about us in a bad way? Do you think that you're a messenger? You're going to be put to jail. You're going to be put to kill. You're going to be killed. You're going to suffer. So you're technically treating the messengers or anyone who comes to you with clear proofs from your Lord as an enemy, despite them not wanting anything from you. They just want the world to go back to being fixed. Right? I'm not claiming anything. I'm saying that there have been many people that came much more influential than you can recognize, that were put in a position of messengership. If you want me to name people out of the top of my head, again, they're not like the messengers as prophets. But to me, I believe Muhammad Ali was in the boxing world a form of a messenger to show them that, hey, here in the community of boxing, Muhammad Ali is showing you how a Muslim will dominate, a proper person with a relationship with God. In the music industry, Michael Jackson, to me, in my understanding, is a person who also was talking constantly about God, and he told many people about making the world a better place in the name of God. And at the end of his life, he read the Quran, he believed in the Quran, he became a Muslim, and then his end came, died, murdered, whatever it was. In the UFC world, in the UFC community, fighting community, I believe right now Khabib is a proponent of a person pushing the message of God. Therefore, he is in a form of messengership. So the people in UFC should listen and watch on how he's doing things and understand that it was the prayer, his relationship with his dad, and the way his determined is. And he's not someone who has the Quran memorized. He just understood the regulations, what he needs to do as a human being, and he applied it. It's not about the whole world becoming Sunnis. It's not about the whole world having to follow a certain culture. It's about that relationship. It's about that discipline. It's about expressing to the world what you are doing without having to lie. And it's not about you making a bunch of money and you being famous. Okay? So God puts you in this situation so that you are able to remind the world that, hey, there's a day of judgment coming. This is how you need to be. Look at me. Look at the favor that God has given upon me. But if they denied Moses, after Moses showed them clear proof, this is a prophet now, a prophet with miracles. And then Jesus came with the Holy Spirit, and they also denied him. And how many people have they killed? You will think me and you are going to be able to open the eyes of these kind of individuals that have no problem either killing each other, kicking each other out of their homes. And then, so they have no problem kicking each other out of their homes, killing each other. They have no problem eating each other's inheritance. They deal with interest. God to them is just something they hang on their ear, or something they hang as a necklace, or maybe it's something that they twirl on their hands. But when you come talking to them in in either theology or how a human being should treat each other, they always throw it back at your face in arrogance. Because God told you what they do when they're reminded with the verses of God. They go, you become arrogant, and then you deny or you kill. How many people do you think from the time of Prophet Muhammad till now that came with sincerity, with a heart that they knew that what they were on is on the truth, and they reminded their people in civilization, and that civilization either killed them or put them to the side or denied them? And then there goes the Umayyads, there goes the Ottomans, there goes all these other civilizations that were considered great after Prophet Muhammad that completely went bye-bye. And God said that a community will not go bye-bye and it does not become history until God sends them a messenger with their tongue, warning them. But people are always expecting like, well, it has to be a miracle and it has to be, no, none of that. In fact, Jesus, and this is where I'm going to help you. Jesus, with his teaching, he was growing people, he was teaching people on how to become disciples of Jesus. So as a disciple, they were trying to give the victory back to God, and God would give them the victory because this is how they viewed their God. That is how you become a disciple of Jesus. Now, if you're a follower of Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad gave you a book. This book is telling you, they say this, so say this. They're acting like this, so say this. They are doing this, so you do this. That's how you follow the Prophet. And you propagating and going through what the Prophet has went through and doing what the Prophet has done, because this is what the book told him to do, so that's what I'm going to do. At that point, you are becoming in the position of helping the Prophet. Therefore, you are propagating the message. You're not a messenger of God, but you are a messenger that is coming with the words of God. So utilize it. That is the whole point of the Quran. The Quran wasn't about this other stuff that they have in other books on what the Prophet did. The Prophet is clear on what he did here. Oh, well, there's no resurrection. Well, don't you see that God, like he brought the earth to life. And then it goes to barren, it goes to desert, and then it can come back to life. You're saying you can't come back to life? I just did what my Prophet did. You understand? And now I'm following the way of the Prophet. Well, my Prophet, he was also a messenger. So I would also have to try to fulfill that shoes when I can. Okay? And you will see that when God is saying, we gave you the book. Yes, he gave Prophet Muhammad the book, but he gave you the book. When he's talking to you, put yourself in that position. You could see the verses can still apply to you. And you could see how people are treating you. And this is how they're going to treat you. This is what the Quran says. If you guys are enjoying this, this is how I view it. This is how I approach the Quran. I put myself in the position of that person that's being talked to. It's not about me being arrogant. I want to live it. I want to experience it. And I go out and I do it. Okay? I'm not claiming anything. I'm not saying anything. But you could do this and you would see the response from your Lord. You will see that the world all supports you and helps you to fulfill the word of God. Okay? This is going to be a little off topic, but I'll prove it to you. Yesterday, for some reason, I had in my, at 2 o'clock in the morning, I wanted to pray to my Lord, but I wanted to pray at one of his homes, a home where they built in the name of God, a mosque, okay? But unfortunately, the hotels are open 24 hours, the restaurants are open 24 hours, the fun times and the fun things where people can make money in the banks, like the ATM machines, they're available 24 hours. But to go pray to God in the middle of the night, that's not available for us. That's not something that is something weird. Okay. So, but I genuinely wanted to go to a place where it is technically clean and dedicated for God for me to pray. So I went past the first mosque. Obviously it's locked and I'm not going to break in, or I'm not going to jump over and be in a place where I'm not allowed to be as per whoever is dictating that area there, even though it's for God. I don't think there's an issue, but I carried on. And it felt like even the wind was guiding me at that point, because God knew my intention that I just wanted to prostrate to God in the middle of the night for a while and think about him. He took me to a place where the mosque, the front gate was open. The inside of the mosque was not open, but the courtyard was open and there was an area that was very clean. It was undercover because it was showering outside. And I was able to stand and pray for an hour and a half. Doesn't matter that it was a little cold, but I felt really close to God because I put myself and I put what the verses was saying and I put it to the test, and you'll see things just start to occur. Try it, put it out. Explore the world with God in the verses. Walk the path that your prophet walked. And you will see this is how you follow the prophet. Prophet was told to say this, so you say this. Very simple. With that said, alhamdulillah, praise to God. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace and the blessings of God upon you.